Congresswoman Edwards, you served in the House Ethics Committee. Usually the work is confidential, as Julie was discussing. But what do you think? Will this report come out?
Well, I think that, the House Ethics Committee conducts really serious investigations. I think inevitably this report is going to come out, and House Republicans really control that. Either it's going to come out directly from the Ethics Committee as a part of its work and may come out through a leak, or it may come out because the senators get their hands on the report for the purposes of confirmation. And so I think it's entirely up to Republicans who probably don't want to be running around the Hill having every reporter ask them whether they think the report should come out or not, and then being attached to the stain that will happen when the details of that report emerge. Best for them to get some distance and to allow the report to come out. And again, there is precedent for that happening, and I would suggest that they do that sooner rather than later, because I wouldn't want to be one of them with a microphone in front of my face asking about the report.
All right, let's ask our Republican on the panel here. Congressman Dent, you chaired the committee. The current chair says he's going to maintain confidentiality, but then this is also a very unusual situation, right, with Gaetz resigning. Do you think that the chair and the other Republicans would agree to release this report? They don't want the stain? They don't want cameras in their face?
Well, I enjoyed serving with Dawn Edwards on the Ethics Committee, and she's absolutely correct. That they do serious professional investigations. And it appears to me that this investigation was completed prior to Gaetz's resignation. And so at this point, I do think that Republicans, look, to say that Matt Gaetz is disliked by his House Republican colleagues would be a wild understatement. There is no love for this man among Republicans. And so the fact that Senators Cornyn and Durbin, who as part of the official record, as part of the confirmation process for Matt Gaetz in the Senate, would like to see this report, I think is pretty compelling. And there's precedent to release a report after resignation. And of course, it's in the interest of the United States Senate to know as much about this nominee as possible. It's in the interest of the American people to know as much as possible. So I do think that they will ultimately release this report. And by the way, and I think Donna would probably concur with this report is probably very damning. It may recommend sanctions of some sort, recommend censure, perhaps expulsion, although that would be moot at this point. So this is going to be damning. And there might be a referral to the Department of Justice for all we know. The Ethics Committee has done that on a few occasions where they've referred their work to the Justice Department. So we don't know what's in there. And I think it's in the interest of the Senate and certainly the American people to find out before this man is considered to become the top law enforcement officer of the United States.
We do know that there were prosecutors looking into some of the allegations that we believe overlap, at least with this House committee report. They declined to bring charges, questions about witness testimony and credibility. Congresswoman Edwards, Democrats are the minority, of course, in both chambers. What are you looking for them to do in this confirmation process?
Well, I think certainly in the Senate, there's a lot of control over that process, and in terms of asking questions of the witnesses. Imagine if you're a senator and you have this report in front of you, you're going to ask Matt Gaetz directly about things that are on the record. In the investigation process, the witnesses who appear before the Ethics Committee do it under deposition and under penalty of perjury, and so. This is going to be a really serious and damning report. I agree with Charlie. And the best thing that the Democratic senators can do is continue to press for this open hearing and aggressive questioning of Matt Gaetz. I don't think he's fit to serve as Attorney General. And Democrats and Republicans are going to have to come together to make that decision.
I can't help but wonder, Congressman Dent, because we've seen, some questioning of Trump's picks by Republican lawmakers, but will any actual votes against confirmation end up happening, or will they face just so much pressure and worry too much about political repercussions of, getting on Trump's bad side?
Well, in the case of Matt Gaetz, I happen to think that this nomination will be withdrawn at some point. It's clear. I mean, when you did in your lead up to this segment, you were playing Senator Kevin Cramer. If Gaetz doesn't have Kevin Cramer, I can assure you he doesn't have a lot of other members. So many of them dislike Matt Gaetz. I mean, we can't forget that. We just can't forget it. And I can see many members voting against him. I think this thing is dead in the water. I'm just shocked that this is a gobsmackingly bad nomination. I'm shocked it came. You know, in Trump world, you know, we're used to all kinds of shocks and surprises, but this is really beyond the pale.
I wonder, Congressman Dent, do you see any through line with these picks from Trump, from somebody like a Marco Rubio to Matt Gaetz?
Well, yeah, look, some of the, Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, these are all people who are well within the mainstream and, are experienced and serious people. Lee Zeldin, I was surprised that he was nominated for EPA, but a serious person. So, some of these appointments are serious and, I think will go through as they should. And others, like this one, and RFK Jr., are highly problematic, to say the least, and really it seems like Trump is trying to take a blowtorch to the government with some of these nominations, and that's what is so alarming. He has a mandate of sorts, to secure the border, to deal with the economy, try to bring inflation under control. I don't think he has a mandate, to take vengeance, retribution against his enemies and using folks like this, to carry out his will.
Former Congress members Donna Edwards and Charlie Dent, thank you both very much. Happy Friday.
Thank you.